My father was an architect, and he had gone 3 years to college and dropped out to have a kid who was my older brother. And he was able to pass the architecture exam. So he was a really smart guy. My father went to Iceland on a business trip. He was responsible for the plan for the Reykjavik airport. So if you ever travel internationally and stop into Iceland, you'll see the air traffic control tower he designed. So he brought back books of Icelandic, a kid's book I remember looking at and trying to figure out what it meant. At the same time, he was not able to progress. There was this sort of hierarchy at his workplace where the engineers got higher standing. And I always heard him complaining to my mother about the engineers getting more respect. So he had a little bit of, I guess, regret, because actually he was a really talented musician and he didn't pursue that passion. He was a pianist, and he just was steered by his parents. And he grew up in rural Kansas, sort of Wyandotte County, Kansas, which is pretty rural. And he was on the track team and the swimming team and stuff. So he was a standout high school student, but, did not have those opportunities to go on, to go to Julliard or, concert halls and such. But he was a very, very talented pianist. He was always playing piano. I grew up hearing all this classical music, Beethoven, Chopin, Brahms. For hours, he would sit there and he'd play. He clearly loved it so much. And he talked about how he wanted to become a pianist, but he didn't do it. My parents broke up, and there was a time where he was trying to make that transition to like playing piano in hotel bars and stuff, but he just didn't have the skill set at that point in his life to make it. It was something that made an impression on me. I really felt that it was important to do something that I loved, that made me want to get up in the morning. So for a long time, that was satisfying to teach students and do research on how language and the brain work, and to the point where I was getting accolades and had some papers that made a splash in the scientific community. I discovered an auditory hallucination effect that had never been described before.
Wow.